But it is kind of sort of related to something we talked about yesterday. One of the videos we reacted to yesterday. This is kind of related to it. So chat, Big Boss put out a video on Bethesda. And the video is an hour long. That's why I wanted to maybe jump into reacts a little bit earlier than normal today, because this is one of a couple videos that might be a bit on the long side. But I do love Big Boss because Big Boss puts out some really great stuff. And I don't know what he's going to go into. Well, Eki, I have no idea. This video is 4 weeks old, so I have no idea if Oblivion is going to be spoken about in this or not. I'm wondering if it may be strictly related to Starfield, because that was the latest Bethesda thing. Let's find out.
The last 30 years have seen a momentous rise in the open-world 3D role-playing game, and spearheading this genre, one company. Adopting new technologies.
It features all new rendering, lighting,
for God's
and
sake.
landscape technology.
Pushing new boundaries, and breaking new ground.
Look at this, man.
And spearheading this company, one boyishly handsome man. It had been a rocky last few years, but in late 2023, he and the team were in the final works of their next game. The biggest game they'd ever made. More content than their last 2 games combined, he said.
Wait. Hang on.
Made. More content than their last...
More handcrafting than any game Bethesda's done. They made 4 fucking cities. And everything else. That I remember this. This was a huge thing that Bethesda was saying. It's like they handcrafted so much in Starfield. And they handcrafted the 4 main city hubs. I'll give them that. And that's it. All the rest of their worlds were completely procedurally generated. They don't talk about Oblivion? Okay, that's fine, homely. I kind of expected that. Yeah, there was the handcrafting in this was minimal. So this was a fucking lie. That this is more, or I should say, if this is more handcrafting than any game Bethesda's done, then how much of their previous shit was all procedurally generated and not handcrafted at all? Gotta wonder about that one, huh?
Last 2 games combined, he said. Ready to sweep the Game Awards, as he was now well accustomed, he puts on his leather jacket and emerges once more. But first, we go back.
At time. Oh, maybe not. Oh, we're time traveling.
It's the 80s, and a man by the name of Christopher Weaver is a person. He'd been doing a few different things. Assistant directing for PBS and ABC, engineering work for MIT, Panavision and the military, and then some consultancy work on the side. However, sometime around 1985, one of his engineers fancies making an American football game, so Weaver dips his toe into game development and starts work on an engine for it. It's now 1986, and they've just set up shop in a small office in Bethesda, a census-designated place in Maryland. They incorporate and then smash out the game Gridiron by the end of the year. It's one of the first sports games to factor in things like momentum and collision detection, and features fairly sophisticated movement mechanics for the time. The graphics are also jaw-dropping. And the game does alright. EA even approaches them with a contract to work on a football game together. However, this ends in a lawsuit, as it turns out the whole thing was allegedly just a ploy to steal their engine code. Anyway, Weaver and the boys decide to apply the same technology to hockey games, and start pumping those out. It's now the 90s. Expansion. There's now around 20 people at Bethesda, and a lot more going on. So they make the move from Bethesda to a bigger office in Rockville. This place is actually a place. Also, turns out no one currently owns the Terminator license, so they jump on it and start pumping out Terminator games too. They also start
nobody had the Terminator license? I don't even remember them making Terminator games. What freaking Terminator games did they make? Like, I don't even remember. I've not even heard of these. Holy shit.
Pumping out Terminator games too. They also start publishing other developers' games. But first, boats. Nice.
At time.
Relaxing. Pretty chill. Wait, what's that? My god. In World of Warships, things are different. Command a huge naval fleet and take part in massive battles. Pick from a vast selection of history's most iconic ships and commanders, painstakingly modelled from historical documents to complete accuracy. Aircraft carriers,
complete with
battleships,
links
cruisers,
on their
and
Reddit
destroyers.
page.
The options are plentiful. The gameplay? Dynamic. Different weather effects make each fight different, and the game features a steady flow of new missions, updates, content, and events. Prefer PvE over PvP? Well,
Oh,
both players are
Sky, it
catered
was the
to
first
in
game with
7
the free
different
agent
battle
engine?
types.
Oh,
And the
okay.
game features over 40 maps and 20 ports. Also, a free new Headless Horseman ship skin and commander have just been added. World of Warships is also free to play. Sign up now through the link in the description, or use the code HEADLESS to get that, plus 7 days premium account time, 1.5 million credits, 500 doubloons, and a free ship after completing 15 battles. It's around 1992 that one of Bethesda's hockey games ends up in the hands of a boy. Now at this point, Todd Howard is young, unassuming. He'd been studying finance in college, but his real passion was PC gaming. You'd often find him beelining from classes to the school computers to install and play games. And he's a big fan
Oh
of
my
Bethesda.
god, what game was that? Wait a minute. Was that? Hold up. Hold up. What game is that? Chap, any idea which one that one is? Is that Wing Commander 1? Wow. Star Commander? No, I think Wing Commander might be correct. Dad, when did old school Wing Commander come out? Wasn't that back like early 90s? Honestly, that looks kind of good for the time period if it was early 90s. I wonder if Wing Commander. I wonder if someone's gonna start trying to bring Wing Commander back. If any game studios are gonna go, let's try and reboot Wing Commander.
And he's a big fan of the chess club. But right now, he really likes this hockey game, and turns out the developer isn't actually that far away. In fact, they were literally on the way back from his college. So in 1993,
Oh my god.
he knocks on the door and asks for a job. They tell him no. Finish school first. He graduates and asks again. Sorry kiddo, don't have anything. So Todd gets a job at a different
Oh, if
game
only they
developer
kept doing
nearby.
this.
This job allows him to go to electronics conventions like CES, where developers could show off their new stuff. This is at a point where games are still kind of seen as a joke, and the gaming section is literally tossed at the back. You had to walk past hordes of porn vendors to even get there. But anyway, Todd would use
Well, okay, hold up. Hold up. Big boss, you make this sound like it's a bad thing. I have a different viewpoint. I personally don't find that to be such a bad thing to need to pass through to get to the gaming section. You know, I might need to do a little shopping. There might be a few titles in there, or maybe some, new gadgets that I might take interest in. You never know. You never know.
use these conventions to track down Bethesda's stores and continue confessing his love. After around a year and a half of this, in 1994, they finally have an opening, and Todd Howard is in. Now at this point, Bethesda
here
had
we go.
released a good few hockey and Terminator games, and things were getting a bit stale. So they'd decided to branch out And right around the time Todd had joined, they're putting the finishing touches on something completely different.
Oh.
Headed by a man named Julian Jensen, and with a team of around 10 people, the Elder Scrolls Arena had now been in development for around 3 years. It had started out as a simple, linear gladiator combat game, but ambitions quickly ballooned. They added side quests, fantasy elements, and some exploration around the cities. And after some playtesting, you know what? Fuck the arenas. Let's open this whole thing up. And before long, they're building a fully fledged, open-world role-playing game with side quests, explorable cities, and procedural generation. It's ambitious. They'd had to create their own proprietary engine specifically for it, and other developers are actually laughing at its scope.
That's ambitious for the time. I am not sure how many games back when the OG Elder Scrolls came about actually had a legitimate open world. Like, chat, when did the first Elder Scrolls game come out? Was it like 95 or so? Is that about when is that when the first Elder Scrolls game came out? 96. Yeah, so like open world games were not a thing in 96, 95, 96. That was not a thing. Or 94. Okay, even earlier than I thought. This is pretty fucking ambitious for that time. Yeah, exactly, Victor. It was this very well, they were seeing like the other devs are laughing, but who's going to basically be taking the idea and running it with pretty much all their games pretty soon after this? Yeah. Okay, this is because I had no idea that Bethesda pioneered the whole concept of the open world game.
But in late 1993, it's nearing release. And there's a problem. They'd completely switched genres, but the original game's marketing materials had already been printed, resulting in a front cover and half the name having nothing to do with the actual game. At this point, it would be time-consuming and expensive to redo it all, so they end up just sticking with it. And in 1994, the game hits shelves, and people pick it up. Looks nice. The storyline isn't...
And there it is. Who cares when this, of course, was back when the games literally had to get picked off the shelves. Nobody's looking at the name of the game. This is what they're looking at. Okay, dude. Holy shit, hot ass bang. I'm buying this game. If she's in this game, I'm buying. That's how gamers made their decisions back then. And truth be told, it's how some of them make their decisions now. Well, yeah. And Steve, that kind of fits with a lot of games at the time. Bethesda was not the only ones that fell into this, where their box art doesn't match their game. A lot of games did this back then. Like, I want to say at least half of the games, at minimum, had cover art that did not match the game or the gameplay. Because let's face it, the cover art on a game is exactly the same as cover art on a book. When someone is perusing through a bookstore or even online, a lot of a big chunk of the buying decision will be based on the cover art. Even if you have like a little blurb for a book that it said gives you like a little rundown of what you might be able to expect from the book you're about to purchase, the cover art is what sells these things. The same is true with video games. Now, it's not so true these days. Nowadays, honestly, it's kind of gotten in a reverse. And nowadays, no one actually gives a shit about the cover art. largely because it's all digital now and hard copy of games has kind of become a thing of the past. During this time and for many, many, many years afterwards, the cover art is how decisions were made on if you're going to purchase that game. Especially now, the whole word of mouth, like the connectivity of being able to know what the game is like from people all the way across the country or even all the way across the world didn't exist. You only had maybe a very small word of mouth circle close to you. So the cover art really sank or swam your game.
The storyline isn't amazing, the quests are pretty linear, the graphics are only okay, and on launch, the game is absolutely fucked. There are random...
Oh my god, is that a real bug? Is that a real fucking bug? So even back then, the goddamn creation engine was this fucking bugging. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Absolutely fucked. There are random crashes, falling through floors, corrupt save files, invisible enemies, quest items not spawning, enemies just walking through walls, and more. It's also very hard to run, but install the patches coming out every other week, and eventually the game works. And
Yay!
it's good. It starts out like any other dungeon crawler at the time, but leave that first dungeon, and you can go anywhere. For starters, the game is absolutely massive. Its map spans an entire procedurally generated continent, clocking in at around 9 million square kilometers. That's
Impressive.
over half the size of Russia. There are hundreds of towns, cities, dungeons, and quests to dig through.
Okay,
Although
this
again,
is impressive
these
for
are mostly
94.
procedurally generated. There's also a ton of NPCs. All are procedurally named and have their own professions. They'll even run away if your weapon's drawn. Arena also has a pretty detailed character creation system, with various races, 18 classes, and an attribute system.
Oh, shit! Okay. So again, this is impressive for the time. I cannot think of many games in the mid-90s that actually had a character generator. Much less one of this level of detail for the mid-90s. Like, that is really fucking impressive. So, for this time period. Like, really goddamn impressive. And honestly, graphically speaking, these look good. These absolutely look good graphically for the time period. Boy, they started off so fucking strong.
18 classes, and an attribute system. Also, a cool spellcrafting system, a dynamic weather system, and is that a persistent day and night cycle? Pretty rare at the time. At night, shops even close. And just like real life, monsters and other creatures start to appear. And the game goes on to sell around 100,000 copies. Not a massive success, but it's alright.
For the time,
And Bethesda hits the green.
okay, not a massive success in current day. I'd say back then, in mid-90s, 100,000 copies is pretty damn impressive for a first-of-its-kind game. Because again, we don't have the same level of networking that we see today. This literally, like, the popularity of the game literally happened by word of mouth. Or by maybe, I'm guessing like PC Mag might have been around at this time. Maybe PC Mag might have done an article, but how many people actually picked that up? Like, for the time period, for the mid-90s, selling 100,000 copies is pretty fucking impressive.
Green light for a sequel.
I
It's now
don't
the
think
mid-90s.
so, Alex.
There are about 40 people
Not
at
that I'm
Bethesda,
aware of.
and Todd is handed his first major job. Producer and designer on their next Terminator game, Future Shock, with a team of about 8 people. This is one of the first first-person shooters to feature true 3D environments, thanks to their cutting-edge in-house game engine, X Engine. It's also one of the first PC games with full 3D mouse look, meaning you can now look up and down. Despite all of that, it doesn't sell too well. But at the same time, development on Arena's sequel is now well underway, and Daggerfall is shaping up to be one of the largest and most ambitious RPGs ever made. They now had a bigger dev team, around 15 people. However, development is still not fun. 7-hour workdays, 18 months of crunch.
Wait, 7-hour workdays, and they're complaining about it. Did I hear that correctly? That they're whining about a 7-hour workday?
Still not fun. 7-hour workdays.
Seriously? They are pissing and moaning about a 7-hour workday. I don't know if that's what he meant, but he actually said 7-hour workdays. Hang on, we'll hear it again. Maybe there's some context.
7-hour workdays, 18 months of crunch. Some weeks, 60 hours on the clock minimum.
I'm thinking he might have misspoke then. Because he said sometimes they were doing 60 hours a week. I'm thinking that he might have made a mistake in his script there for the 7-hour workday. Maybe he meant to say 17-hour workdays. Or maybe, believe that could be, maybe he meant to say 7-day work weeks. Maybe. We will go on the assumption that he made a boo-boo either in his script or when he read the script and didn't mean to say 7-hour days. We'll go on that assumption.
Or managers would be screaming. Things are so bad. The Terminator game devs are pulled in to help out. They have limited technology to work with and a far tighter deadline. And again, there are new ideas and features constantly bloating the scope of the game, with a ton of these eventually having to be cut. In-depth housing furnishing, warring factions, cities under siege, advanced AI, and even multiplayer, all nixed. Naturally, the team is fairly stressed. A decent chunk of staff dip from the company, and one is even hospitalized.
By the way, hang on. By the way, right here, best fucking scene in the entire She-Hulk series. Without question, this was the undisputed best scene in the entire She-Hulk series. Right fucking here. Because every single person that had the misfortune of watching the series wanted to do the exact same goddamn thing. As far as why, David? Because the She-Hulk series was an absolute abomination of garbage. It was fucking girl boss, girl power to the max that basically said fuck you to She-Hulk, the character. And everybody wanted to do exactly what this guy does.
A decent chunk of staff dip from the company, and one is even hospitalized for a breakdown. Development of this game is such a nightmare, it's almost the end of Bethesda Softworks. But in 1996, after almost 3...
What happened? Alright, quick and dirty, and then we'll get back to this, because I do want to explain this. Okay, you know? Okay.
Development of this game is such a nightmare. After almost 3 years of development, Daggerfall comes out the other side. And it's very good. It also sells very well, shifting over 100,000 copies in just a few days. And eventually, settling at almost 1 million. Again, the game is huge.
Shit!
This time it's set in a smaller, but more fleshed out segment of the continent. This time with around 15,000 towns and cities, and almost 1 million NPCs, who are now also racist. The map is now...
What? Hold up. God. Well, met stranger? How do you do, Cash? What do you know about Rith? Where did you hear about Rith? I'll not tell some wetback Redguard any more about this. Oops. Well, back then it wasn't actually considered all that racist, I suppose.
Racist. The map is now about 200,000 square kilometers, almost the size of the UK, and this time it's fully consistent, meaning you can actually walk from town to town. One guy on Reddit says walking the map corner to corner took him around 69 hours. Nice.
What?
It's also on Bethesda.
Wait. Nice. Nice, chat.
Corner to corner took him around 69 hours. Nice. It's also on Bethesda's new X engine, so enjoy all of that in true 3D. And Daggerfall is packed with new features. Lock bashing, climbing, house and ship purchases, a detailed banking system with letters of credit and loans, horseback travel, an actual legal system with court sessions, and holidays with actual effects on the in-game world. Daggerfall is also a far more in-depth RPG. There are massive upgrades to the character system. It now features 35 skill lines, including parkour, speechcraft, and
Wait. It had parkour? Like, it legitimately had parkour as a skill tree. Way back then. Holy shit. Okay, I am now coming to understand and appreciate why Bethesda was so lauded in the early days. Like, this is all really impressive. And you know what it makes me wonder? If Oblivion is successful, if this remaster of Oblivion is really if it maintains this level of success that it has achieved. Remember I was saying like they'll go back and remaster Skyrim? I kind of wonder if they're going to go back and redo some of their OGs. If they're going to do the original Elder Scrolls Arena, or if they're going to redo Daggerfall. I could see them doing that. Considering how successful this was, can you imagine doing this in the upgraded Unreal 5 engine? That could be a slam dunk for them. Granted, it's not a simple matter of remastering. This is effectively, like, if they did Daggerfall, they would have to probably rebuild it from the ground up. This couldn't be a simple port of the creation engine into Unreal 5. They would probably have to rebuild this from the ground up, which would be very time-consuming. But if they were to maintain this quality in a remaster in Unreal 5, that could be huge. That would be absolutely huge if they did that. Well, and that's the thing. I don't think the map is as big as Oblivion. Now, for those of you that have played Oblivion before, have played Oblivion and Daggerfall, you can tell me. It feels like the map in Daggerfall is actually smaller than the map in Oblivion, which to me would not be as huge as we would fear. Fans have already done it. Yeah, but Bobcat, I'm talking about them professionally doing it. Like in Unreal and just doing a complete rematch. Does it have one of the largest maps? Okay, because he said it was a smaller map than Arena. That's why I was wondering, like, is it smaller? Is it massive compared to Oblivion? Oh, okay. Oh, Oblivion takes place in the center of the map of Arena. Well, Arena was an entire continent, so...
Just 35 skill lines, including parkour, speechcraft, and the ability to learn enemy languages. Also, instead of leveling up and manually choosing which skills to improve, skills go up by just doing the skill. There are also now joinable factions,
Nice.
like the Fighters, Thieves, and Mages Guild, an upgraded dialogue system, and a whole reputation system to boot, with factions, cities, provinces, lower classes, and upper classes all having their own opinion of you. Your alignment with factions even changes the end of the game. Naturally, Daggerfall ends up being an absolutely huge install, around 400 megabytes. Bear in mind though, this is at a time where most games clock in at around 10 megabytes, and hard drives only really go up to about 1 gigabyte. Again, it's also very hard to run, and the game has horrific technical issues. This is actually much worse than Arenas, so Bethesda gets back on the patch mill, but even still, the game remains very buggy to this day. In December 1997, they release a linear dungeon crawler called Elder Scrolls Battlespire. It does terribly. In October 1998,
I never even heard of that.
they release Elder Scrolls Redguard. This is a 3D action-adventure game inspired by Tomb Raider. It also does terribly.
Yeah, that's one
In
I never
fact,
heard of either.
These games do so badly, the company's now in financial ruin because of them, and they're now downsizing massively.
And thank you.
During this time, a ton of devs hit the road,
To get
including
sick?
Julian LaFay and most of the original team. Things are bad, so in an attempt to get their hands on some more cash, Bethesda restructures, and in 1999, Chris Weaver brings in a guy called Robert Altman to co-found ZeniMax Media, Bethesda Softworks' new parent company. Now Altman is a well-connected lawyer, and with him now in the picture, Bethesda can get some serious investment. So Weaver steps down from CEO to CTO, and Altman steps up. Robert Altman has a completely clean history, with no scandals at all. A couple years
Hold up. Hold up. Witness says so-and-so helped in BCC. Oops. Yeah.
A couple years later, and in 2001, the publishing and development arms of Bethesda split. The publishing arm staying as Bethesda Softworks, and the development team becoming Bethesda Game Studios. They all remain in the same building. However, there's a situation brewing. The dot-com bubble has just burst, and trillions of dollars are currently being vaporized from the stock market. Bethesda is hit hard,
Ugh.
and now even more developers are leaving or getting the sack. On the board of directors,
Think about this, chat. The stock market made billions of dollars disappear. Happened with the tech bubble bursting. Happened with the housing market crash. Well, it was it trillion or was it billion for the tech bubble crash? For the tech bubble, I don't recall what it was. Yeah, it's this is why I don't invest in the stock market, because I don't believe in investing in invisible money that may or may not be there at the whim of some fucko on the other side of the planet, just tanking a stock and making a whole shitload of money just disappear. Playing the stock market is gambling. It's just plain and simple as that.
billions of dollars are more developers are leaving or getting the sack. On the board of directors, serious bad vibes. They're currently doubting the whole enterprise, and there's growing tensions between Weaver and other executives, but particularly Robert Altman. Weaver is focused on the technology and innovation in the games. Altman on the finances and profits of the company. And these clash. And eventually, it comes to a head. And Altman usurps the throne.
You know how much I sacrificed?
He kicks Weaver out of his own company entirely in 2002.
First time.
Damn.
And stacks the board with his own guys. This results in a nasty lawsuit. It's around the same time that the few developers left at Bethesda are putting their heads together for what they think could be their last game.
When
When work
time.
on Morrowind began, things didn't look great. After a big wave of layoffs, there are about 30 people left at the company. This includes a development team of just 7 people. As the director of the Elder Scrolls Redguard, as well as one of the few developers actually left, Todd is now the project lead, and in late 2001, he calls in the boys. Listen lads, this could well be the very last thing we're ever gonna make. If we don't nail this, we're cooked. See, Morrowind originally started out much grander in scope, but they'd made that mistake twice before, and development wasn't a great time. This time, they could not miss. So Todd's deciding to dial it back a bit, and attempt a more focused development. The procedural stuff, that's getting flushed. This thing was going to be fully handcrafted from the ground up. Also, that 3D engine of theirs, in the bin too. They're now using an engine called Gamebryo, and naturally, this new engine changes the game a lot. They're now able to create a far more detailed world, enhanced graphics, physics, and lighting.
And it became the game engine that Bethesda basically leaned on in its entirety without further progression for the next 20 fucking years. The Embryo became... Embryo basically became the creation engine. And they basically said, okay, we're now going to use this for the next 20 fucking years for every new game we make. And starting about 10 years ago, roughly, maybe even 15 years ago, the cracks started to show in the game engine. You know, by the time Fallout 4 came in, people were like, okay, this engine is starting to get very fucking old. It is filled with fucking bugs. It's time, you guys need to move on. And they didn't. Literally, Oblivion is, I'm pretty sure, the remaster that just came out, I'm reasonably sure, is the first time Bethesda has changed game engines in, 30 years. Think about that. They've relied upon the same game engine for about 30 years. And I thought I heard that they're trying to develop Elder Scrolls 6 with the creation engine still. I don't think that they're working on Elder Scrolls 6 with Unreal 5. Yeah, we'll start. Okay, calling it Creation Engine 2 is just a buffed up Creation Engine 1. Still the same engine. It's absolutely still the same game engine. And let's face it, Starfield has plenty of fucking bugs in it that Bethesda isn't fixing. Because again, when they launched Starfield, they said, we'll throw it out half-baked and the modders will fix it for us.
Also, more complex scripting and AI.
Talk to me. Who's there? Who's there? If you talk to someone while invisible, they react to that. Todd, you've done it again.
Despite all of this, development is still horrific, with 7-day work weeks at points. But after a small delay to May 2002, after 5 years, the next Elder Scrolls is ready to release. Morrowind is a completely new Elder Scrolls experience. Instead of the procedural towns, cities, and quests, players step foot into a rich, handcrafted world, just bursting with detail.
He's out of control, this robots.
Not just the world. Pretty much every NPC, including random bandits, are handcrafted too, with their own custom names, stats, and often backstories or notes. Its storyline is very well written. It spans politics, philosophy, and religion. And it's all layered and ambiguous. Every quest in the game, also handcrafted, and includes a ton of player choice throughout, with branching, interconnected quest lines that are approachable in different ways. It's immersive too. You can kill every single NPC in the game, even if it ruins your main quest.
What have I done?
There's basically no fast travel beyond paid transportation services from city to city, and there's no quest markers, or even a compass. If you want to finish a quest or track somewhere or someone down, you'll have to ask the locals. The world itself, unique indeed. Interesting architecture,
that is.
Outlandish creatures, and big mushrooms. And due to the new engine, it's alive, with items all over the map that you can pick up and drop. Also, this time round, they'd gone with a guy called Jeremy Soule for the soundtrack. and new music good.
Eh.
NPCs get
Oh, so that's where the Elder Scroll theme came from. It was back in Morrowind. I thought, like, okay, I haven't played any of the Elder Scrolls games, so okay, so I did not realize that it started way back then with Elder Scrolls 3. Okay.
an upgrade. There's now some light voice acting, and the game introduces a disposition system, meaning every NPC either likes you or hates you depending on your personality, speechcraft, general reputation, and race.
Okay, you're good to go.
Morrowind also introduces leveled zones. See, a ton of enemies in the last two games scaled to the player's level. You leveled up a bunch and improved your skills. Well, unlucky. So has everyone else. But here, certain areas will have higher level enemies and loot, meaning exploration is more dangerous, but more rewarding as you get better. On PC, Morrowind also ships with the Elder Scrolls construction set, essentially the original dev tools Bethesda had used to actually make the game. Every aspect of the game, from landscapes to graphics to quests, anything you could hope for, are now open to modification.
So this is how the modding started. I had no idea that Morrowind was, the inception of what would end up being the creation kit. And chat, stop looking at the Dark Elf's booba. Look at mine. If you're gonna look at booba, look at mine. Yeah, okay. I don't know if Big Boss is going to point this out, so I'm going to point this out myself now. Why do you think Morrowind is so detailed and has such like rich backgrounds and has such like an impressive level of detail? Why do you think that was? Because they were not because they had to crunch. I'm going to point that out. Yeah, I am going to point that out. It's not because of the crunch, like them getting worked to death. No, I'm not talking about being overworked. But yeah, Seb, that's where I'm going. Because they knew that they had to make a good game, so they actually put in effort into designing and then crafting the game. They had this make or break moment, and like they were basically under the gun. If they don't make a game changer, if they don't make something brilliant, the whole company was going to go under. So that basically that pressure, not like the amount of time they had to work, but like the creative pressure is what I think caused them to really just dig in and create a game that could rival and beat all of its competitors. And now that Bethesda is so huge, there isn't that creative pressure anymore. That's why they've been just like for a long time, all their Skyrim stuff has been remastering. And why Starfield just turned into Skyrim in space. Because there was no creative pressure because Bethesda has become so freaking huge and successful that they're not under the gun to have to create something interesting and creative and attention-grabbing that people will want to play or the company goes under. And that's why Starfield is just sci-fi Skyrim.
It's not all good though. The combat in Morrowind is incredibly clunky and works
this
on
is
dice
what I've
rolls.
heard that.
Just very clearly hit that guy at point blank range? No, turns out you missed. Also, bad balancing, and there are a few things missing from Daggerfall. The lock bashing, climbing, housing in ships, banking system, horse travel, in-game holidays, and legal system all gone. And of course, again, the game is buggy, suffers from bad performance, and is hard to run. But overall, Morrowind is an amazing game, and it flies off shelves.
Okay. The fuck?
It's revolutionary, a way bigger success than they'd ever anticipated. It sells over 4 million copies in the first 3 years. Critical acclaim, coming in from all directions. It's even crowned the Game of the Year. Bethesda also shipped it on the original Xbox for the first time. This is at a time where RPGs are more PC focused, so it's now reaching a whole new market, and it goes on to be the 18th best-selling game on that console. Morrowind conjures a massive profit, and Bethesda finally has some financial breathing room.
Or not.
After
Here we
Morrowind,
go.
Todd is hailed as a king, Bethesda's savior. Under his direction, he'd brought the company back from the brink, so naturally, he's back in the cockpit for their next project. Bethesda also doubles up their workforce with some of that new cash. They've also just gone in on new technology. For the first time, they're playing around with the Havoc physics engine, alongside a new world rendering system. They're also bulking up on the voice acting. In Morrowind, only a few key characters were voiced. But here, Todd wants everyone. And the script for the game ends up at around 40,000 lines of dialogue. That's about 50 hours of audio. An issue.
Holy
This
shit!
ends up taking over half the game's file size, so they end up having to trim thousands of voice lines and a ton of already developed game features, just so it'd fit on the 360 disc. Like the first game, arenas were supposed to be in every city in the game, and it was all pretty much done here, but again, it had to go. May 2005. It's E3, and promises are hefty. Todd jumps on the mic himself and fills us in on his new Radiant AI system.
Let's take a look at the other side of the game, our new Radiant AI system. It allows NPCs to have full 24/7 schedules. These NPCs are not scripted.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh, God.
In the demo, he even shows off a bit
Wait,
of his
was that an NPC or was that you? That NPC that they just showed, or that character, was that like an NPC? Oh, God. Yeah, NPC in an Elder Scrolls game? Acting like a complete fucking moron? Yep, checks out. Definitely checks out.
own voice acting.
What? That really pisses me off.
Oh no! What do we do? I'm so scared.
Anyway,
That was Todd. That was Todd voicing that. Did Todd actually run voice lines for Oblivion? Like, did he really do voice lines?
demo, he even shows off a bit of his own voice acting.
What? That really pisses me off.
Oh no! What do we do? I'm so scared.
Anyway, 4 years in the oven, and on the 20th of March 2006, Elder Scrolls Oblivion is finally ready. And again, it's good. The combat is far better. For starters, you can now actually hit things. And when you do, the new Havoc physics engine makes for incredibly realistic, true-to-life ragdolls. Also, if
Yeah,
you can
sounds
see
about right.
something, chances are you can now pick it up and swing it round. The graphics are also much better, just don't look at the NPCs. The new rendering system allows for huge load distances, meaning none of that thick fog that was literally everywhere in Morrowind. And the world is populated with luscious, thick shrubbery, thanks to a new technology called Speed Tree. Also, again, enjoy all of this with another amazing soundtrack from Jeremy Soule. While the main quest is incredibly repetitive, the side quests and faction quest lines in Oblivion, sublime. They're really well written and very fun. In fact, they're generally considered to be the best in the series. The Dark Brotherhood questline is especially popular. And of course,
Wait, I want to read those comments because I know nothing about this Dark Brotherhood. I fished Dark Brotherhood questline for the first time. It was definitely a great narrative. Compared to Skyrim, this had incredible depth and twists I didn't see coming. We shipped a ride, just finished the questline. It was so much better than the Skyrim one. Although the quests were awesome, the story was even better. Oh, okay. Okay.
And of course, all NPCs are now voiced.
Not bad. Good to hear. Goodbye. Goodbye.
There's even some celebrities in here. However,
They got motherfucking Sean Bean? Like, okay, Patrick Stewart, we knew. They got Sean Bean in voicing in Oblivion? Chad, how quickly does he die? Does he die as fast as Patrick Stewart's character does? I mean, it's Sean Bean. If he doesn't die, I'm going to call shenanigans. This is Sean Bean we're talking about. He always dies. No? Really? So he sacrifices himself. Okay. At the end of the main quest, he sacrifices himself. Okay. He still dies, though. Because I believe it is a rule that any character Sean Bean plays must die. And they got Terrence Stamp in there. Oh shit, that's some big names.
however, this doesn't come without issues. There are over 1,000 NPCs in the game, and there are only around 10 voice actors between them. Naturally,
Oh no.
you'll be hearing some of those voices a lot. One guy alone voices every single guard in the game, and a ton of other
Wow.
characters.
Stop right there, criminal scum! Stop! You violated the law. I'm a guard, and I love my job. If you run into trouble, come find me.
Players also notice some of the voice acting isn't amazing. Turns out, when recording the voice lines, Bethesda had opted not to go in order of conversations, characters, or even just chronologically, but to go through every voice actor's line alphabetically,
Stop right there,
meaning
criminal
voice
scum!
actors had to be...
Nobody breaks the law on my watch. I'm confiscating your stolen goods. Now pay your fine, or it's off to jail.
Fuck off.
Then pay with your blood.
much no idea what the actual context of their lines were. Brilliant. Actors also just switch voices randomly halfway through dialogue.
I could be banished for telling you.
Okay, I'll show you.
And legitimate
Oh my god, that sounds like that one voice line we heard in Cyberpunk. Where he literally changes voices halfway through. And yeah, this is a face only a mama could love. Chat. Ooh, that's the Heavy engine is not doing it much favors.
voice acting mistakes are just left in the game.
All on the same night. Wait a minute, let me do that one again. I heard the thieves broke.
Fans had also noticed some
Oh my god, they left the bloopers in. They left the fucking bloopers in. A true sign of quality. Ah! They left that goof in the remastered version too? No fucking way. Okay, I guarantee you they left the goof in the remastered version as an Easter egg. That was done. That I guarantee was done intentionally as an Easter egg.
Wait a minute, let me do that one again. I heard the thieves broke.
Fans had also noticed something new. A lot of features from the older games were missing. What happened? Well, back during development, and Todd had looked at Morrowind. We made a great RPG here, boys. A ton of freedom. How can we remove and streamline as much of it as possible? And they got to work.
Oh god.
Morrowind's nuanced storyline with conflicting goals and intersecting quest lines between factions. Cool, but confusing. Too much choice. Make it far simpler and completely linear. Also, let's remove any skill requirements for advancing in factions. So now literally anyone can become the head of any faction. You're playing a bare-knuckle barbarian who's never used a spell in his life? Excellent choice for the head of the Mages Guild. It was pretty cool how we let the player kill anyone in Morrowind, but too much room for error. Remove that feature, and make a ton of NPCs invincible. Morrowind's quests were pretty good, but there's way too much thinking involved. Let's slap a compass on the bottom of the screen with a constant quest marker on top, so players can mindlessly follow it around for the entire game, with no option to turn it off. Scaled leveling. Let's bring it back.
It's rewind time.
Let's also bring back generic, procedural enemy spawns. And let's implement them so badly, all enemy spawns eventually become huge damage sponges that can take you out in a few hits unless you level efficiently. It's apparently actually easier to complete the game at level 1 than any other level because the enemies get so OP.
Wow, 2 hits and you're down. It is evolving, just backwards.
Also,
what the actual fuck? Is this the beginning of Todd Howard's Fall? Where he's just like, okay, we're gonna take all the fun out of the game and we're gonna make it all procedural and just make it grindy. Oh, okay. We are the cracks. Yeah, Grey Meadow. This I was just about to say. The cracks are beginning to seriously form here. But Inquisitor, you saying they fixed it in the remaster? That's good to hear. I have a sneaking suspicion based on what we're seeing here and what I'm hearing from you guys in terms of the remaster and everything that's been corrected. I have a suspicion that the remaster is going to start to become sort of the yardstick on which the Bethesda games are going to start getting measured, and how Bethesda itself might be measuring its games. And that's why I'm wondering, is the next step for Bethesda not going to be Elder Scrolls 6, but retooling and remastering their old properties? And that is because with the old properties, you have a known quantity, you have a built-in story that you don't have to fuck with. You're literally just redoing the gameplay. The characters, the story, that's already there. That part's done. You don't really even need to hire anybody for story and content. All you need to focus on is the tech and remastering it in Unreal 5. And to me, that sounds like that would probably be a more expedient and cost-effective way to basically create a profit. You're taking your older games, you're slapping a couple new fresh coats of paint on them that are really fucking good and re-releasing to the public. No, I have not, Tashi. The only Bethesda game that I have played is Fallout 4, and I played a little bit of New Vegas. Those are the only games from Bethesda that I've played. But based on what we're hearing with the Oblivion remaster, I think they're going to set their sights on their older properties. They're going to redo Skyrim, and they're going to redo Morrowind. Hell, they might even redo Daggerfall. That's the direction I think they're going to go if Oblivion proves to be as wildly successful as it seems to be.
Is that Petty Bandit donning Daedric armor and weapons? In Morrowind, the main way of fast travelling is paying for public transport that takes you from city to city. But for Oblivion, let's just add free fast travel from anywhere on the map, so you can go anywhere you've discovered, at any point, at no cost. Now let's remove a ton of skills. Dumb down spellcrafting, and remove spears, throwing weapons, medium armor, and a ton of spells. Perfect. And by this point, players are noticing a common theme here with Bethesda games. They have a certain charm to them, and Oblivion was no different. Despite Bethesda releasing a number of patches, a ton of bugs are still present. So modders just end up creating their own patch for the game, fixing bugs that Bethesda never did.
Yeah. And here is where we see this is where it began. my guess is with Oblivion, this is where it started with Bethesda saying, hey, look, the modders fixed our game for us. We don't have to work as hard anymore because the modders will just fix it for us. This looks like is where it's beginning.
Rank was expected, but players had noticed something new with Oblivion. There were some inconsistencies between what Todd had promised.
These NPCs are not scripted.
And what players had actually purchased. See, at E3, Todd had made some pretty big claims about their new Radiant
and
AI.
Thank you for the follow,
this
Timothy.
New AI would include full schedules for every single NPC in the game and incredibly complex AI scripting. True NPC intelligence. Guards now patrol the cities and react to in-game events and your reputation. Regular NPCs even follow daily routines and eat, sleep, farm.
How fucking fitting. How fucking fitting that he threw this scene in here when talking about NPCs going through normal routines. Well, Timothy, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the live version as much as you've enjoyed my YouTube videos.
Work, and socialize at specific times and in specific areas. That now also have conversations not just with the player, but with each other. Todd and the team had even spent time and a ton of money having conversations in real life, and spent hours modelling them for in-game adaptation. They come out incredibly lifelike.
A vampire hunter named Raymil Draelus made his way into town, snuck into his house and killed him.
Good day.
Good to see you.
Yes, incredibly lifelike. By God, chat, I didn't realize I was looking at two computer-generated images. I thought those were real people having real conversations on my screen just now. Heavens to Betsy! Give Todd all the money!
I don't know you, and I don't care to know you. I don't know you, and I don't care to know you. I don't know you, and I don't care.
Oh God, he's looping.
I don't know you.
Somebody give him a slap on the back of the head and fix him.
On release, the NPCs weren't quite as intelligent as Todd had let on.
Nilos, hello. That NPC said the other NPC's name. That never happens.
So she's picked up a bow over here.
Wait, what?
She's decided she needs ammo, so she equips the quiver.
NPCs never
and
did that.
And she can practice her skills. So she's going to drink this potion. It's going to increase her marksman skill.
Dude, that's crazy cool. That was never in Oblivion. None of this made it into the game. The AI was so dumb.
Bethesda would go
Shocking that during a... I mean, okay. I will do it in fairness. There are a lot of fucking games out there where they do like a demo or like a tech demo or a proof of concept demo, and they're doing advertisement with the press where devs or the head of the dev company will say, hey, they put together a tiny little tech demo to show to journalists, and they say, look at all this cool stuff that you can do. You know, it's got this, it's got this, it's got this, and none of it makes it into the game. We saw it with Anthem. The entire tech demo for Anthem was bullshit. Every bit of it. So we're seeing that even now. So, showcasing a tech demo where the features in said tech demo don't make it into the game is not so much of an unusual thing. Because it's easy to take those features that was just being described in the tech demo, like the one guard knowing the other NPC's name, and then the one NPC that she going to get a quiver and practicing arrows and upping a skill level. Like, that is a very, very, very tiny, confined space that I imagine the dads could easily cook up in not an unreasonable amount of time. And then you take that tiny little fragment and then expand it to the entirety of the game. And they realize, oh shit, we can't do this. Oh yeah, Cortaz, that's what I need. Like with the tech demo we just saw here, with an NPC that picks up a quiver and goes and practices bow shooting to increase skill level, was not in the game. So that one was also could have basically been faked. it's pretty much the same principle. Is they're showcasing features that don't actually make it into the game. Now, in Anthem's case, it was because the management behind Anthem was absolute dog shit, and that they spent 5 years just trying to conceptualize the game, and then something like 2 years actually crunching and making it, with the game developers not even knowing what kind of fucking game they were making until the E3 demo came out. And then the game devs went, oh, so that's what the name of the game that we're working on is, and that's what the game is. Okay, now we know what we're actually working on. So Anthem is different, significantly different in that respect, but the base concept of studios and devs presenting a tech demo that doesn't accurately showcase the game is not new. That's what I'm saying.
Go on to claim that AI was too smart and had to be dumbed down.
Snow. We need more snow. Can't have enough snow.
Fuck?
Indeed.
Then,
the fuck?
Post-launch, Bethesda crank out a few expansions.
Splug, thank you for the 10 gifted. Thank you so much. Oh fuck, when I back up to that, this is gonna give me nightmares. Chat, I think this is gonna give me nightmares.
Then, post-launch, Bethesda crank out a few expansions, like they did with Morrowind. They're highly rated. However, this time round, they're also selling small, downloadable item packs on the store. And the first of these, a $2.50 piece of horse armor. Bethesda had just released one of the industry's first microtransactions. Naturally, people aren't too happy.
How much horse armor did you sell?
Yep.
People will buy anything.
But regardless, despite the complaints here and there, Todd's direction works wonders again. The game goes mainstream and does very well, selling over 2 million copies within the first few weeks, and becoming one of the fastest selling 360 titles at the time. Also, Game of the Year again. Nice one, boys.